What's up everybody and welcome back to another DW Fan 91 extravaganza, woohoo! As you guys may know, I have been away for the past few weeks, so I'm just getting back into the swing of things right now, and in my absence there has been a lot of news, a lot of announcements made about the new Doctor Who RTD2. Woohoo! And I just want to talk about it. I don't really have any other reason or excuse to make this video. I just want to talk. I'm not loud, so I'm just gonna have a fun time, a chill time, just talking about the new era. Don't forget to leave your own comments below in the description. That's not how that works. I probably won't do a community reaction unless you guys want me to. I don't think this is community reaction worthy. There's just been a little bit of news that has come out, or it was an article that came out, and I just want to talk about it, and I want to see what people are feeling, how people feel. So don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, blah blah blah, typical YouTuber. Enough time has passed since season 1 has come out that I feel I can be perfectly honest with you guys, you know. How exactly am I feeling about Doctor Who at the moment? And basically I just want to talk about current events, so ta-da! And where better else to start than the very beginning? Let's go way back in time to 2021 with the announcement that Russell T Davies will be coming back to helm Doctor Who in RTD2. I just love saying that. I remember when this announcement first happened. I actually remember exactly where I was. I was taking a shit. I was on the toilet just checking, and I saw the news icon. I got a notification literally 1 second after the article went up, so I got it first-hand reaction, and I was very excited. I was genuinely very excited. There was a part of me that was a little bit apprehensive, but mostly it was just pure excitement. I love that he was doing the 60th, and then when I read even more, oh my god, he's going to be doing a full series after that, I was like, wow, that sounds so amazing. But I started to get a little bit more cautious, apprehensive when it was announced that David Tennant and Catherine Tate would be coming back, and then I really became apprehensive when it was announced David Tennant would be the 14th Doctor and not the 10th Doctor. He was going to be a totally new incarnation. I thought that was lame as hell, and I still do, kind of. I just thought it was a bit of a misstep. I don't think it really makes a lot of sense. I just think it's pretty dumb, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh my god, the law is broken. Nah, I mean, what's wrong with him just being the 10th Doctor again? I wouldn't have complained. As the 60th got closer, I became more and more wary of Russell T Davies too. I didn't really like the trailers very much. I mean, I thought they were okay. Looking back, the trailers were fine. Just in the midst of it, I wasn't too happy. I don't know. I think everyone was shitting on the Chibnall era way too much, and I was like, guys, I actually kind of like the Chibnall era. And then the Star Beast came out, and I was like, ha! Told you guys the Chibnall era was great. But then I just realized, you know what? Fuck it. This new era is great too. Because I'm man enough to admit when I was wrong. I was wrong about the 14th Doctor, and I was wrong about the 60th anniversary. I thought it was going to be pretty mid, and it turned out to be pretty good. Not the celebration overall. The year in general was kind of dry, but the trilogy of episodes, the trilogy of specials, they were all pretty good. The Star Beast is by far the weakest one, and I still like it. While Blue Yonder is just absolutely tremendous, and of course the giggle is great outside of maybe like the last 2 minutes. But there was just a strange air about the episodes where I wasn't quite sure. I was really enjoying them. There was just something about the production, which is why I am also man enough to admit that I was doubly wrong, because then Series 14 came out, and that even blew the 60th specials out of the water for me, because I loved it. I love Series 14. You guys can go back and check the videos. You can check the reviews, and you can check the analysis and blah 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 blah. There's no secret, I like the new Doctor Who series. I thought basically all of the episodes were great. Even the finale I thought was good. It's probably the weakest episode of the series, the final one, Empire of Death, but it's still really good. It's action packed. It has a little bit of a letdown ending, kind of similarly to how the Giggle does, but the Giggle is still great. I think similarly Empire of Death is still great for like 90% of it. And now that it's been a few months since the Ruby Sunday reveal, I feel like I can say for everyone that it doesn't really sting anymore. I mean, it barely stung for me at the time because I wasn't super invested in that mystery box. All of this stuff is heavily documented on my channel. You can go back and verify everything I'm saying. I was never into the mystery, who is Ruby's mum? So when it turned out the answer was, it doesn't really matter, I was like, That's what I've been saying. I will admit it was handled in kind of a poor and uninteresting and boring way, which is infinitely worse than it being handled in a bad way. Because if it's just apathetic, bored responses, I mean, that's just a real shame. But outside of that, I'm focusing on the negatives. Series 14 was an absolute banger. I really like Space Babies. I don't really know where all the hate's coming from. I don't know why people hate this episode. Am I crazy? Devil's Court is great. Boom is great. 73 Yards is great. Dot and Bubble is great. So by all accounts, I have been proven thoroughly wrong to have ever been cautious about this new era of the show, Russell T Davies 2. And yet, we find ourselves in a bit of a predicament. Now is the time of the video where I talk about the point of the video, which is this new article that released, which was announcing the fact that Series 3 of Doctor Who has not been confirmed, and that it has not been renewed yet, the yet being in brackets because the yet may never come, or at least that's the implication. Russell T Davies has said that if Disney are going to renew it, they're going to see how things are after Series 2, which if you've looked at how shows work, usually if the season 1 isn't, then it's probably not going to get renewed. Who knows, maybe things will happen with Series 2 and it will be magically renewed. But this is bad news because it shows that the future of Doctor Who isn't as certain as some people thought it was. And you might be thinking, oh well, you love this new era, you love Doctor Who, but you don't seem too devastated by this news. And the reason is because I thought it was kind of expected. I'm honestly surprised that they were able to do the spin-off. I'm very glad that they are able to do it. I know some people don't care for the idea. For me, it's a dream come true. I love the idea of the war between the land and the Sea Devils and Silurians finally getting their own spin-off. But I'm surprised that even that is coming out, because I just think Disney and Doctor Who are just completely incongruent. Every single decision they've made with this new reboot has just been awful. So while I was proven wrong to be apprehensive when it comes to the quality of the actual episodes and the writing, because I think the writing is amazing, and you guys know I'm a massive fan of Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat and Chris Chibnall. I really like all of them. I think they're immensely talented. I think Russell T Davies' work on this new series has been some of his best, which is definitely controversial to say, but I'm kind of done caring about that stuff nowadays, you know what I'm saying? 73 Yards is a banger, man, I'm not afraid to say it. But when you step aside and you look at the marketing and the branding and everything surrounding the show, the format, everything, you know what, I was right. I was right to be cautious, I was right to be apprehensive, and the fate of Series 3 is up in the air, and it's hard for me not to say, I told you so, goddammit, which I feel terrible to do, because I really do love Doctor Who. It's my favourite show ever. I have a real deep care for it, beyond what others would consider normal. I kind of irrationally love this show, to a ridiculous degree. I really do care about it, and I care about its health, and I always want it to succeed, and I always want it to be on the air. But goddamn, keep in mind, right, I've said it time and time again, I like all of the episodes, right? I think all of the episodes are good. Even still, I would say without a shadow of a doubt, watching this latest series of Doctor Who was the most miserable watching experience of any Doctor Who series I've ever watched. It has never been as miserable, a new series of Doctor Who, as it's come out, as it has been with this new one. And the main reason, and in my opinion, the kiss of death, in inverted commas, that kind of ruined all chances of this new reboot of Doctor Who succeeding, is the release schedule. They release it at midnight in the UK. I think it's just done. From that point, I think that decision is just so terrible that you've sabotaged the show so much that it just is impossible for it to succeed. I mean, I'm like a super mega fan, and even I was forcing myself to watch it. If you've got to force yourself to watch a show, it's just not going to be successful. Every single defense of this claim I've heard is just mega cope and shows a complete lack of understanding about how audiences behave. There's just no way that this move was ever sensible. And I know that Disney probably has some like back-end algorithms that have determined when would be the most profitable time for it to go out, yada da. I'm here to tell you right now, it's so blatantly obvious that you should just ignore those algorithms and go with your gut instinct. You know when Luke turns off the targeting computer and he uses the Force? That's what you should have done. You should have just realized that releasing it at midnight is just going to tank the show. I made a joke in one of my videos that it felt like intentional sabotage, and I'm not ruling that out completely because a lot of the decisions were baffling, and it's not like there hasn't been in the past a history of sabotaging Doctor Who by putting it in the worst time slot, right? That has definitely happened before. It's happened before many times. It's what sunk the show originally in the first place. But I think here it's just a real case of good intentions, errors. I think if there was one thing that I could change for Series 2, just quick damage control, one thing with my my magic wand would be that I would make this air at 6 p.m, 6:30 p.m, 7 p.m, whatever, on a Saturday in England. I find the narrative that, oh, the writing is just so bad and that's why everyone stopped. I just find that disingenuous, because like less than 4 months beforehand was the Church on Ruby Road and the 60th anniversary specials, and they all performed great. They did amazingly. I mean, obviously the ratings for everything across the whole board are just in the gutter, and that's why Doctor Who, even though it didn't get super sky high ratings, it still got, was it #1 of the day on Christmas, even though it didn't even get that good ratings. I mean, it was still a success, no doubt about it. The 60th anniversary and the Church on Ruby Road, which was Chutogawa's first episode, were both a success, and that came out 4 months before this new series, and there was good word of mouth. I mean, it just seems rather obvious to me that the reason it flopped was a mixture of the release schedule and the fact that it's on Disney Plus, but mostly just the release schedule. I feel like I've really got to hammer this one home because it is my main point. It's the one thing that if I could change for series 2, I would. Russell T Davies, if you're watching this video, I love you, buddy. Please, man, please, can you just try and change it? Just get it just a little bit earlier, even at 10 o'clock, please, man. Midnight it's so grueling and it's so terrible, and I'm just gonna lay it down on the table. I'm gonna explain in detail why Midnight release schedule just sucks. I am such a nerd that I go through old videos and clips online from like 2008 and 2009, and I found this clip of Stephen Moffat from Comic-Con 2008 when it had just been announced that he was going to become showrunner of Doctor Who, and he's doing a press table and he's getting asked questions. It's a little Q&A thing, you know, and one of the questions is from an American reporter who says that in America the show is airing at 9 p.m, and the reporter is of course dismayed, and Stephen Moffat is dismayed. He's like, what? We've got to change that right away. 9 p.m. is unacceptable.
What do you feel about the U.S. audience being really not targeted towards kids?
Well, you're getting it wrong. What can I say? I mean,
my kids love the show. You know, they're 5, 10, and 12. They love it, and just the fact that it's on like 9 o'clock on a Friday night.
I'm vexed by it. I don't understand it. Yeah. I mean, this is a show that's going to have sticker books and lunch boxes and collecting cards. Yeah. I mean, this is the toy shop show.
And I just thought when I watched that clip, I watched it like a month ago. I thought, oh my god, where is this now? Please come back. 9 p.m. please. Doctor Who is a show that is meant for families, which is a code word for saying that it's meant for kids, right? Kids aren't watching at midnight. I have kids in my family who watch the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, they watched the Christmas special, and then they didn't watch the new series because it was on too late. That is not an isolated incident, that is happening just in general. I don't want to hear this cope, oh, it's on the next day, 16 hours later. That doesn't fucking matter. That's a rerun. Reruns don't count. What matters is the initial broadcast. If you don't get the initial broadcast, what you're gonna naturally say is, oh, I'll just watch it later, and then you never watch it later, because why would you? It's a hassle. You're not gonna do it if it's a hassle. If it's event television, which if it's 8 episodes, it has to be event television, otherwise you just can't justify it being 8 episodes. If it's event television, then people will sit down and watch it when it airs, but they probably won't watch it if it released like yesterday. They'll wait until the next one and then won't watch that either. Don't want to tell you what happened. This is what happened, okay? The Doctor Who episode came out on Friday night. Most people forgot that it came out on Friday night because they assume that it comes out on Saturday. They wake up 9 o'clock in the morning, they check their phone and they go on social media. They either go on Instagram or YouTube or Twitter and they see either a clip or an image or like a thumbnail or something, and they're scrolling, and by the time they've scrolled for 10 seconds, they've seen all of the highlights, all of the lowlights. There's no reason for them to watch the episode anymore. Even if like the posts are positive, it's almost like the posts have had the emotional reaction for them, or because you know what's going to happen, you don't get that emotional reaction. It's basically like reading spoilers. You wake up in the morning and you check your social media and you just see spoilers for the new episode, and then you feel no need to ever watch it, and then the more episodes that you've skipped, the less you want to go back and watch. And the only way to really avoid that is if you make the show event television in a way which makes it impossible to skip, where you make every episode so unbelievably jam-packed with action and excitement and everything that people feel compelled to watch even after they've watched spoilers, which is very difficult to do. It's not impossible, mind you, but it is still really difficult. But all of this could be circumvented if you just released it normally. I mean, it worked well for the 60th anniversary and the Christmas special. I don't really know why we stopped it. Russell T Davies himself says that he still watches it at broadcast. There's no point to watch it at broadcast. I mean, it's not like you're gonna feel the vibe of the room. Half the people who are watching it at the initial cast, in inverted commas, have already watched it. I'm not even watching it at initial broadcast. I've already seen it. It's just so dumb for instinctual and obvious reasons. But there are other faults with the marketing and branding and format of the show. The main one, of course, being the 8-episode format. I've been calling this one out since it was announced. I was actually the first person to call this out. Now everyone's all parroting it. Let the record state that I was the one. When people were saying, oh, it won't be a problem, I was the one who was saying, this is a massive problem, this is a massive big deal. The fact that the episode count is so short is going to be devastating to the show. And now everyone's saying it. Now, to be honest, I actually don't say it as much anymore, and the reason to that being, well, I can't change anything about it, you know what I mean? Obviously, if the creatives could wave a magic wand and say, okay, we have 13 episodes now, they would, but it's kind of impossible. It's just unsustainable with the way that the current TV landscape is right now. They can only make 8 episodes, which is sad, right? The world after COVID has kind of gone to shit. We can only have 8 episodes of Doctor Who. It's a damn travesty, and it does lower the quality of the series, because even though the series average rises because the episode count decreases, the whole vibe of the series decreases because there's a lower episode count. It's kind of weird to quantify or put into words, but I think all of you just instinctually know what I'm talking about. You're able to connect more with more characters, you're able to get more cozy and more into a show and feel the big moments more if there are more episodes. Now, of course, that makes it more difficult for them because they've got to come up with more ideas, but that's not really the reason why we only have 8 episodes. The reason we only have 8 episodes is because they only have the time to make 8 episodes, in that the production crunch and the visual effects and all of that, and even getting the actors in, all of that takes so much time to make an episode that it just becomes impossible. Now, in 2005, they could barely do 13. I'm sure all of you guys know this, but the reason that there were Dr. Light episodes such as Love and Monsters and Blink and Turn Left, and Midnight is a companion light, but it's the same reason as Turn Left, is because the actors, their schedules were so stuffed that they actually couldn't do the 13th episode. And also, you might not know this, but the series productions actually overlap. So series 3 does start before series 2 is ended, and series 6 does start before series 5 is ended, and those production blocks overlap. It's difficult, as you can imagine, behind the scenes to remember what you're working on, because you're meant to be working on like the last third of the series while working on the first third of the next series. So 13 episodes was just never gonna last because you couldn't have your main actors in all 13. When it went down to 12, I thought that was more reasonable. I obviously don't know all of the ins and outs behind the scenes, and when it went down to 10, I thought I definitely understand why we're doing that. But with Flux, when it went down to 6, I really was sad. Now, I understand why they did it, COVID. I am a massive Flux apologist. I'm a Fluxer. I love Flux. But now that we're back to 8, it just isn't enough. Russell T Davies, wave your magic wand once again. Please raise the episode count. I know he can't, which is why I don't really like to rag on about it, because it does make a difference on the series quality. You can't not mention it because it's a big deal and it affects how 90% of people view the series. But at the same time, it's something that can't really be changed. So you can talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And then the people who are making the show listen to the criticism and they say, we hear you and we can't do anything. So there's not really much point talking about it. I think it's more important to talk about stuff that can change, like the release schedule. Please change your release schedule. And of course, the other big elephant in the room, Disney Plus. I'm sorry. Doctor Who being on Disney Plus is just such a massive blow. Disney with a star from a Netflix show and a co-star from a Netflix show. I said this before, but a lot of the 2005 era of the show is very reminiscent of its contemporaries, you know, Buffy, Lost, all of that stuff. This new series 14 is also reminiscent of its contemporaries. The problem being that all of those contemporaries are on Netflix. I mean, airing the Bridgerton episode of Doctor Who the week that the actual Bridgerton comes out on a rival streaming service, what do they think was going to happen? That would have been a massive hit if Doctor Who was on Netflix. The audience Russell T Davies wants to watch Doctor Who are on Netflix. It's the same audience who watched It's the Sin and his previous shows. He's clearly bullshitting when he says, my goal was to make Doctor Who appeal to a wide mainstream audience. He doesn't give a shit about that. If that was his goal, he definitely would have gone about it a lot differently. And I would have gone about it a lot differently. And if that was his goal, then I'd be criticizing a lot more heavily because of all of the massive obvious errors he's doing to try and achieve that goal. But that's not his goal. His goal is to do what he did with It's a Sin and try and recapture the sex education audience. And I could go into all my proof about that, blah, blah, blah. But I think we all kind of just intuitively know that it's true. And it being on Disney Plus and not Netflix, A, Netflix just has so much more cultural capital, and B, Netflix just has a lot more users, and a lot more users who like Netflix. There's a considerable portion of Disney Plus subscribers who actively hate Disney Plus, and they don't like any of the Disney Plus shows, whether they be Star Wars, Marvel, or whatever the hell the other ones are. All of this stuff is kind of obvious to say. I mean, pointing out, don't make the show 8 episodes long, don't release it at midnight, don't put it on Disney Plus instead of Netflix. All of these feel like really novice errors to make, which is why I can't really be shocked when they're like, and we didn't get renewed. Obviously, I will say when it comes to Disney Plus and not Netflix, the reason they went with Disney Plus is probably because it was the best deal, the best contract, and I'm not going to pretend for a single second that I know what any of these contracts were. Maybe it was just such a good deal that you couldn't pass up on it. But you have to realize the reason Disney Plus deals are better is because there are a bunch of hidden cons that come with it. Namely, the fact that it's on Disney Plus, right? But moving outside of that, let's talk about the problems with the structure of the series. A lot of people have pointed out the fact that Boom is 3 episodes in, and Ruby's been traveling with the Doctor for months, and this is her first time on an alien planet apparently. Those aren't really the problems that I have an issue with. The ones that kind of bother me are more so the pacing of the individual stories, pacing of the individual series, the pacing of the story arcs, and mainly just the 45-minute format. It's just a detriment to the show, and I don't want to hear people say, oh, but if they make it an hour, it would fix it. Nah, man. It's just the only way to fix it is to go back to 20 minutes. The 45-minute format, it just doesn't work. Maybe I should make a whole video as to why it doesn't work. Flux, which is all 1 hour long, has proven that the hour-long format has exactly the same problems as the 45-minute format. Maybe if you go up to 90 minutes and you do 4 episodes a year and you make it like Sherlock, maybe that would work. I don't know, but I feel like the clear open goal, just shoot in the net, is returning to the original format of the show. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, but classic Doctor Who is boring. Now, first of all, that's slander and heathenous, and you should be arrested for saying that. But also, why don't you just raise the pacing then? It's the modern day. You don't need to force cliffhangers anymore. You can just write a story which has engaging cliffhangers in it. Most modern Doctor Who stories can be reordered, reshuffled, reformatted into the 20-minute format and make them better. Usually 20 minutes into an episode anyway, there is a break that could easily be turned into a cliffhanger. A lot of the counter arguments are just frankly stupid. They're saying, oh, well, in classic Doctor Who, they had to force cliffhangers sometimes, okay? Well, just don't force cliffhangers anymore. Oh, in classic Doctor Who, sometimes it was slow. There are like a million other 20-minute TV shows now. There are so many, and none of them are slow. Just don't make the pacing slow. But that's all a rant for another time. I'm getting way off topic. I could talk about the 45-minute format for basically days, and why the 20-minute format is better, and why yada yada yada. One day I will get vindication, because one day this era of Doctor Who that is so dead set on being 45 minutes, specifically because it was meant to be different from the original show, because in 2005 they were so desperate to be seen as different that they didn't want to keep anything from the original show bar the bare essentials, aka the TARDIS design and the Dalek design. But now, almost 20 years later from 2005 when the reboot happened, it's necessary to divert from that now, and I think that the best way forward is actually a few steps back, learning all the lessons that we took from the revival and reincorporating it back into the superior original show's format, which would create a perfect blend, a perfect hybrid, and in my opinion, the perfect show. Doctor Who is so easy to fix. I mean, it's just an inherently brilliant show. But the question now on everyone's minds is Doctor Who gonna get cancelled? And I feel like every answer that I can give to that question will age poorly. So I'm just gonna answer honestly. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Doctor Who is doing decent. Yeah, they've done a few missteps. Yeah, they've hit some things out of the park. Personally, if it was me in charge, I feel like we might need another reboot. Something like an actual big shake-up. But that's a risk. And I know that a lot of companies don't want risks. I don't want Disney too, so there's a mutual disagreement there. But overall, I would say that I am more optimistic than most. But I am also a realist. And I'm not going to deny or argue with people who are jumping to the conclusions. Personally, I'm going to wait a little bit, just see how it plays out, see some more information. We've still got the whole of season 2, man. I can't wait for that, by the way. I can't wait for the Christmas special. It looks so goddamn good. Can you please drop another trailer? I am dying out here. I just love Doctor Who, man. And that's the video. I have an announcement to make. My Twitter's back. If you guys didn't watch the last video, I tried to make a Twitter account there and I got instantly banned. Yeah, I got banned frame one, but I'm back. I just got off the phone with Elon Musk himself. Don't ask how I got his phone number. And we figured something out. Apparently, he was just so jealous of my swag and that's why I was banned. But it's water under the bridge. I'm just happy to be back. So check out my tweet. There's a link in the description below. You can also check me out at DWFan91. Leave a like on the tweet, follow the account. As I said before, guys, being completely real, it's kind of unlikely that I'm going to be super active. I'm unlikely to be super active on the account all the time, but I'll be able to say hi every now and then, you know, step in, see what everyone's saying. A lot of people are asking me, oh, why do you want a Twitter account? If I'm being perfectly honest, I didn't want to say this. A few months ago when I got my first copyright strike and there was that whole hullabaloo, I don't know if you guys remember that arc, that was a saga. What I quickly realized was that it was basically impossible to reach YouTube if you're just talking within YouTube. And when I was searching around, I was emailing a few people. The advice that I got from most people was say, well, just reach out on Twitter because then you can usually get a rather quick reply. And so while I'm not too big a fan of the website, I thought, you know what, I may as well make a Twitter. I'll be able to say hi to everyone. And if there's ever another copyright shenanigans event, which spoiler alert, there is likely to be because I'm working on a big project, I'll be able to reach out and hopefully I'll be able to get it sorted much quicker than the whole 2 months that it took me before. That was just awful. But again, I hope you all enjoy the Twitter. Don't forget to check that out. And also, can I just say a massive thank you so much to everyone who checked out the Patreon yesterday. I just started it. As you guys know, I just mentioned it in the previous video and it is already absolutely amazing. Thank you so much to everyone who checked it out, everyone who joined the new Discord server, and everyone who is helping supporting the channel. You guys are the real MVPs. I cannot thank you enough. Without you guys, this show would be impossible. So thank you so much to the following members: Toby1 Kenobi, Bill, Owen, Teddy Bite, Tim, Theta, Gastretch, Artle to Turtle, Colin Savage, Tom, Someone's Best Friend, Connor Bell, Eric, Snarly, Space, Reef, Unreal Dinnerbone, Aiden, Kate, Christian, Zach, E. West, Oxymoronic, Luxray Lauren, great name by the way, Dob Cool, John Monty, Danny, Doxy, Kyle Reese, Sanyu, Bug, and Harry. Thank you all so much. And with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.